All right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another live with Hanifa Nayela. I am Hanifa Nayela. Today I am going to be talking about the issue with always being strong. Um, Today is one of those days for me, guys. It's a little bit of a tough day, but I am pushing through considering the topic. I actually think what I'm feeling and I'm experiencing today is just the perfect setup for this conversation. I know that I'm not the only one that deals with this. I know that there are a ton of us that always feel the pressure of needing to be strong, particularly Black people. And as a Black woman, I wanted to come and discuss why it's an issue. Us wanting to be strong all the time, or not even necessarily be strong, but to present as strong all the time, and what sort of issues that actually introduces into our lives, and also to just talk about why do we have this overwhelming need to be strong all the time, no matter what we're going through. Uh, the need to constantly show up for others when you need someone to show up for you. The need to constantly give when you are actually in a place where you really need to receive, the need to constantly pour in when you're not getting any deposits. What is that? Why do we do that? And I wanted to just come and discuss that today. If you're here and you're not subscribed as well, I know it's only two people here right now, but if you're here and you haven't subscribed, please do so at this time. If you're here, just say hi, let me know you're here. This is more of an open conversation. It is not me talking to you guys, it is really us talking to each other, because I can use the energy as well. Today is one of those days that I literally struggled with today. I am still struggling. I almost canceled for today, but part of why I do my YouTube space is to actually encourage consistency in my life, because I have a tendency to get bored very quickly and be like, man, deuces. And so today is just one of those days. Today was just a tough day, y'all. It was just a tough day. I'm having a rough day today. But I wanted to come and talk about this for that particular reason. Hey, Inya. Hi. Thank you for always being supportive. It's good to see you. Uh, as usual. I hope you're ready to kind of, be a part of this conversation. I'm just going to be talking about the need to always be strong. Particularly, we find that particularly in our community, and as a Black woman, I would say most of the Black women I know in my life, or just around me, always feel the need to, if not be strong, but to present as strong. And why is that so? And how can we create safe spaces around us for vulnerability without judgment? I want to talk about that. But yes, um, homeschooling is going fine. Actually, my 10-year-old is at his dad's. We alternate. So he's at his dad's right now. And to be honest, the homeschooling thing was more so my push. But his dad is on board and he's doing well and he's sending me pictures and videos. So that makes me happy that his dad is like coming around and everything. Arshan, love you, love you. I see you. Thank you for always being here. Hey, Erica, good to see you. Good to see you. I am just here just to talk about this particular topic because, like I was saying earlier, today's been a rough day for me. Usually I send my thumbnail out because I have an idea of what I'm going to talk about, particularly if I have a guest coming on. So I almost canceled today, but I sort of pushed through because I was like, even though I feel this way, I think I need to talk about it in the meat of it. because I know I'm not the only one that deals with this, right? Especially if you're a mother, you're a parent, or you just have responsibilities in general. It's almost like our blackness is synonymous with strength. And I really want us to talk about that. And, I know why. I have an idea of why. I know some of the factors that contribute to that, but I also know the detriment that also comes with it. And so I wanted to, have a conversation about that. Just some house rules. Oh, sorry. What am I putting up here? Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. That's my comments. So if you guys, again, if you're just coming in and you haven't subscribed, please make sure you go back out and you hit the subscribe button, share the live, and invite others to come in and have the conversation with us. If you are not following me on Instagram, please do so. I am at the Real Hanifa Nayela on Instagram. And if you are feeling generous, my Cash App is Goddess Hanifa. Feel free to drop a donation at any time, no pressure. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get into it since we're already 5 minutes in. So I'm going to show a little bit of a clip. This is Taraji, and she's just discussing. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this clip. You may have watched the entire live, but she's really talking about the problem with the whole strong Black woman trope that is often thrown around, tossed on us as a blanket just because we are Black. And she hints to the detriment. She kind of hits the surface of how detrimental that is and how dehumanizing it is. But I don't want to, really speak for her. So I want to show this clip real quickly. So just to start us off, let me see if I can bring it up. There it is. Okay. And
don't call her strong. What was once seen as an empowering phrase can often be a harmful moniker for Black women. And Taraji P. Henson is making sure that the masses understand the issue at large.
We can handle it. Oh, we're tough.
Henson has been called strong in addition to many other attributes, seemingly as a compliment. However, in a conversation during an Essence Wellness House segment, the actress opened up about how damaging the strong Black woman narrative can really be.
It came as a thing to empower us, right? So it became I'm a strong Black woman, right, to empower us. But then, as years go on, we've been ignored because of that very statement. Well, it dehumanizes us. It dehumanizes our pain. It belittles our tears. It belittles, like I said, our pain. We're supposed to be able to watch our brothers and sons and fathers get murdered in the street, but we can take it because we're strong, right? We can deal with it. We can handle it. And that's just not true.
Henson also takes issue with another popular phrase.
I have issues with titles like that and like Black Girl Magic, because we're not fairies. You know what I mean? We don't magically rebound from pain. We hurt and suffer just like others. And I just always felt some kind of way about those titles.
Issues aside, Taraji has another take on those titles that could actually be helpful.
We think strength is in, vibrato, or but strength is in being vulnerable. And that's what I want my people to understand.
Let's hope everyone can understand this and act accordingly moving forward. Here's to vulnerable Black women everywhere. For HipHollywood.com, I'm Vanessa Barnett.
Okay, so you guys let me know what you guys think about that little that little clip. I wanted to start off with that clip because I've sort of been an advocate. I've sort of been someone who's been against the whole strong Black woman trope, the strong Black woman narrative, because I think that it puts us in a position where we have to wear a mask in situations that we actually should be barefaced. It puts us in positions where actually let me just shout you. I see some new people, so I'm gonna make sure I acknowledge them. Hey Danique, Welcome and thank you as always. And then I also see he said, "Good day at Hanifa Nayela. Blessings to the chat and God and party." And then we see what the funk. He's saying, "What's up?" It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a little while. What the funk? But I saw you on. Oh, you want somebody's live having a conversation. Oh, Mama TJ's live. And I listened in a little bit to you guys. That was a really good conversation. So peace to you. It's always a blessing to see you pass through. Inya. Okay, so Inya is starting off. She says, if I may add, the strong black woman term comes from the oppressors. They believe we don't feel pain, i.e., medical apartheid. Yes, yes. And we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into Raji kind of touched on it a little bit because it has that the research have shown that I should have brought up that clip as well, that doctors actually treat black women differently because they feel that we can take more pain. And black people have a long history of that in America, where they've done many tests and experiments on us without giving us anything for the pain, because in their mind, well, one, we weren't human, we were less than human, we were subhuman, if even. We didn't have souls. Like, there's so many factors that contribute to this narrative. And I not only want to touch on that, but I want to talk about how do we take control of that narrative and begin to change it, right? And for me, I personally believe the only way to change that is to actually create spaces where it's okay for us to feel, it's okay for us to be vulnerable, it's okay for us to hurt, right? To hurt and to be able to sit with that hurt and that pain and to be able to unpack it without the need to expedite the healing process, right? And so that's sort of what I want to get into today. So thank you for that, Inya. You're kind of way ahead of me here. But okay. So I just listed a few things as to what, like, some of the issues, like some of the things that constantly feeling the need to be strong, what it creates. So they're not in any particular order. Okay. I'm gonna start with this. Okay. I'm gonna start with this. I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna start with this, because I've been here. I've been here. I've been one to say this to others. I've been one to receive this from others. I even people who are not non-religious still resort to this, and I want to really talk about this, right? And why I think it's a cop out, and I may have spelled cop out wrong right here, but why I think it's a cop out. I think that it alleviates when we say this to each other, when people are going through it and people are going through a tough time, right? And we say, well, God doesn't give us more than we could bear. I think that it allows us to remove ourselves from any responsibility of helping the individual. So instead of, what do you need from me? Can I come and maybe do your laundry? Whatever that may be, whatever it is, it is very dismissive of the severity sometimes of each other's pain. It actually puts it into a realm that it doesn't necessarily have to go into, and that would be, you spiritualize it, and that's something I know we do a lot of. We spiritualize each other's pain and we intellectualize each other's pain, right? When we talk about each other's pain, it's like we spiritualize it because it makes it not tangible. It makes it not necessarily real, right there in front of our face, something that needs to be dealt with immediately. Okay, it allows us to put it on the back burner. It allows us to put it on the lap of God and say, God is going to handle it. God is going to see you through it, not me, the person that you are sharing your hurt with. Not me. Not me. It takes it off of me. I don't necessarily have to do anything now because God got you. right? And so I wanted to start off with that. Let me just go through really quickly. I see some new people. Our blessings to you, sis. Thank you for passing through. Taki, hey sis, always supportive. Thank you. This is one of my sisters. They don't even know how it warms my heart when they come and support me. It really does. And guys, if I cry on this live, if you weren't here when I started out, it's because I'm having a rough day. Okay, it's been a really rough day, and I might not feel a need to be strong here on this live with y'all today. So if I cry, I need you guys to not feel a need to come to my rescue, but just allow the space for it to happen. So, but yes, thanks, Taki, for passing through. Our says definitely, definitely. She said, I do not like that saying at all. Ashan said, this is a tough topic. If you acknowledge and accommodate people's pain, they might say you are enabling or coddling. And when you are trying to encourage, it's minimizing. And you know what, Ashan, you're and I'm going to talk about that's the cyclical part of this. There is a cycle. So when we treat each other like machines, like this person is supposed to be strong all the time, guess how that person shows up? That person shows up as, well, the expectation is that I be strong all the time, and therefore I must be strong all the time. So it end up being a cycle. So even when you try to acknowledge that, you know what, it's okay for you to cry and to talk about this, they still feel the need to present themselves. Let me say we, because I'm a part of this collective here. We still feel the need to present ourselves as strong, right? Because it's like, yeah, you saying it's safe to do so, but I don't know about that because it's always been expected of me to be strong. What makes this time any different, right? So there's a cycle that happens with that. There's the expectation of the person to be strong, and then there's the person showing up as strong because it is expected of them, you know? Let me see. So my sister said, I come in first thing smoking. Here we go. I swear, this is my other sister, y'all. And then Ashan said, and on cue, you said, don't come to my rescue. You see? You see? And cue. If I'm vulnerable on the show about not being strong, it's hot. Yes. Thank you for calling me out on that. That's what I'm saying, Ashan. It's like it is our default setting, especially as Black women, Black men too. It is the thing that we resort to. It is second nature for us. So you see how you're able to point that out. So now that you've said that to me, I now, in my mind, I'm like, he is so right. I didn't even realize that I was doing that while talking about it. So I appreciate you as usual for pointing that out because there are these contradictions in all in all of us. So I appreciate that, Arshawn. Thank you so much for that and for pointing that out. Inya said true, and Kiosha said this is a fact. So I'm gonna go back to the banner. God doesn't give us more than we could bear. And so I have to check myself around this. There are so many, and you guys can throw them out as you think of them. There are so many other things that we say to each other. Something as simple as, you got this, you'll be fine. You always been so strong, and the thing about it is that there's this fallacy, there's this lie out there that strong people don't commit suicide, right? And it's so funny because some of the people that we think represent such strength, usually veterans and so forth, are committing suicide at really high levels. Black men, the suicide rate for Black men is still rising. Black women, we are literally committing suicide on ourselves by not taking care of our health, right? Because what we're doing oftentimes is there's a lot of suppression because we see vulnerability as weakness, right? We see vulnerability as, as less than Black. as as being not black. Vulnerability and blackness don't can't seem to exist or share space in our minds. And it's like, how do we begin to unpack this? And I say we start by having the conversation. You know what I mean? This is why I wanted to talk about it. Yes, Inya. Listen, this is why I came. I said it's okay to not be okay. This is why I came on, because I was having a tough day today. I mean, all day, you guys. All day I was having a rough day. Kiosha said, yes, and we don't want people have pity on us. Can we talk about pity and how we define pity? Are we defining someone reaching out to help us as pity? What is pity to you guys? Like, when you say pity, Kiosha, what do you mean by pity? Because I find that that definition varies. So when you say we don't want people to have pity on us, what exactly do you mean by that? Because I find that sometimes it's as simple as someone wanting to help, and we interpret it as pity, because we think allowing someone to help us makes us helpless, and that's not necessarily true all the time. So in that moment, you actually may need the help in that moment with that thing, but it doesn't make you an overall helpless person. I hope I'm making sense. It doesn't make you an overall helpless person. So I think that's what I'm asking you to. How do you define PT? Like, in your terms, like, you haven't experienced that. What would you say? How did that feel? How does PT feel, and what does it look like to you? You know? Oh, okay. I see, Herb, you always have great topic. This is right on point. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. Arshan says strength is so subjective. Water and wind turn mountains into pebbles with enough time. Everyone wears down, and that's the point we're gonna get to today, right? That no one is strong all the time. It's just impossible. Okay. And it doesn't make you less than for having a moment of vulnerability or weakness, right? It doesn't make you less of a person having a moment of needing help. We all go through that, okay? And Kiosha, I see your comment. You said, I don't want nobody feeling sorry. Okay. And see, I would still ask again, what does feeling sorry look like? Because when we dig, it really, not you, Kiosha, I'm just saying, I can speak for myself. When I said things like that, once I peel back the layers, I realize that it's really me refusing help. That's it. That's it. And it has more to do with me than the person offering the help. So I have to then get to, why do I feel pitied when they're only trying to help? What is that about? You know what I mean? That's why I push. I'm not trying to give you a difficult time. I'm just like asking, because these are things that I've said to myself as well. You said you don't want anyone feeling sorry for you. Here's what a lot of us think. I don't want to be a burden on anyone. I don't want to be a burden on anyone. Why does asking for help, or saying I need a timeout, or saying I need a break, or saying not today have to be interpreted as burdensome? You know what I mean? And these are some of the things I want to kind of have us think about today, because we all go through this. We all go through it. So yes, the God doesn't give us more than we could bear. Rhetoric is a capo to me. I think that it takes the responsibility off of us. When someone is telling us about their pain and their hurt and where they're at, I think instead of saying, maybe we might not know how to help that person in that moment, right? But it's saying, hey, I don't know what to do for you right now, but I am willing to help you find someone who can. I'm willing to be there with you while we look for someone who can, or I'm just willing to be here as a listening ear because you might just need to, you might just need to release. You know what I mean? And not necessarily. I think what happens to us is that we always have the mind to fix everything. Somebody brings something to us, we got to fix it. Specifically men are definitely wired like this, but we always feel a need to fix. And so when we can't fix, we then resort to things like, well, you'll be fine and God don't give us more than we can bear. We resort to those things versus, and that still is the person who is receiving, the person who is saying I'm in pain is having a hard time being vulnerable. But the person who is hearing that is also having a hard time being vulnerable, because saying that I can't help you or I don't know what to do, a lot of us struggle even with that, because it's like, my friend need help. I don't want to not be able to help them, but there's so many different ways to help people, especially when we know we can't fix the situation. Okay. Arshawn says, I feel sorry for what my close friend goes through. I can't help her, but I do all I can to show up for her more than I would because of it. If you have a lot of problems, let me not be one. I love that, Arshawn. I love that. I love that. Let me not be one. Okay. Um, Kiosha say you're making sense. Thank you. Because sometimes I'd be like, I hope I'm being clear. Enya say, when we refuse help, is it pride? Yeah, I think so. I think we have a lot of pride, and you touched it earlier, Enya. We have carried this image as Black people in the Americas for so long, not just America, in the Americas for so long. We were expected to be strong because we were considered animals. We were mules. We were born to work, to labor for someone else. Black bodies are created to labor. That's it. And I think that a lot of us have that idea has been passed on through generations, and we have internalized it to the point that we are still operating from that mindset, from that way of thinking, to where we wear it as a badge of honor. We could be slaving ourselves and killing ourselves on the verge of complete burnout, and we are not going to say, I am stopping. We are still going to push through, and sometimes to our own detriment. Some people end up hospitalized. So yes, I think it's a mixture of that, because when I say internalize, Inya, the pride piece, we've internalized it to where it's become a part of our identity, and we take great pride in it. You see that face? Y'all see that face? Great pride in it, in being strong, in spite of. Hey, Wana, good to see you, sis. I'm looking forward to your live on Sunday. I saw your Instagram post. I'm excited to see what else you are writing in this chapter. What new what new paragraph you starting in this new chapter of your life. Blessings to you, sis. That was Kiosha. That's what I was getting to. Always having to be the strong one despite what I'm going through, even though all the evidence is there of what I'm going through. Yep. Yep. Um right. Strong. Stay strong. Okay? Even if you're dying while doing it, stay strong. Whew. Okay. I'm laughing, guys, but it's not funny. It's not. Okay? Now, here's the other piece of this. Another issue is that others always expect that you got it. So even when you don't, you still have to, right? What do I mean by that? When you are constantly that strong person, whether it's in your family, in your friend circle, even when you are having a difficult time carrying whatever burden you're carrying, whatever burden you're carrying, even when you're having that difficult time, because they expect you to, you still have to show up as strong. You know what I mean? I actually believe a lot of us are so out of tune with each other. We as we connect with each other on a very surface based level, to the point where, like, there's people literally sitting next, that you have sat next to, that you've spoken to today, who have had several suicidal thoughts throughout the day, and you have no clue why. Because they were cracking jokes with you. You guys were talking about what you did over the weekend, what you're going to do this weekend. They were talking about their children. They were talking about all of their accomplishments. And tuning in goes beyond the physical and the words, right? But I'm gonna come back to this because I want to make sure I acknowledge OG Patrice. Thank you as usual for passing through. It's always a pleasure to see you here. But yes, so even it's like, as long as we tell each other we're fine, we're fine. We're fine. We have no sense of intuition. And sometimes we do, but how they present overrides the intuition. So when I say tune in, it's like no one wants to be bothered. Y'all know we greet each other and say, "How you doing?" Right? How you doing is not really asking how you doing. It's a greeting. It's like saying good morning. It's like good morning. So when we see each other, it's like, "How you doing?" We really don't want to know how you're doing. So please do not attempt to tell us. It was literally a greeting. That's how we deal with each other. That's how we deal with each other on a regular basis, specifically as Black people. The assumption is that our Blackness makes us okay in any situation. Our Blackness is a superpower, right? Is this thing that shields us from collapsing under the heaviness of pain, of trials, of difficulties. Our Blackness protects us from that. And that's a lie. And that's a lie. And we have to begin to accept that it's a lie so that we can begin to engage each other as human beings, because that is dehumanizing. Okay, so Enya says, got to laugh to keep from crying sometimes. Yes, Enya. Herb says, we're not honest. We're not. We are not. We are not. I'm gonna digress 1 second on that. I had a conversation with someone, and there was, the whole gender war thing, right? The whole gender war situation that's happening. And I said to someone, I think a part of the disconnect with us, is with men and women, Black men and Black women, is that we are not coming to the table with transparency. We are not honest in our conversations with each other. So the Black woman that has an issue with Black men, and she's like, Black men are this, they're this way. She what I'm finding out is her issue, the dishonesty comes in because the real issue that she has is with the Black man that wasn't there for her, the Black man that didn't show up for her, the Black man that didn't protect her, the Black man that may have violated her. But when she comes to the table with any Black man, she makes this blanket statement of Black men ain't shit. That is disingenuous, and it is a very dishonest conversation. Because if you're coming to the table with that, we cannot get anywhere. I find the same to be true on the other side. A lot of Black men have misdirected anger and pain towards the real culprits, the ones that are not getting it, is their mamas, their aunties, okay, and the Black woman in their lives that failed them and disappointed them and actually sometimes have betrayed them. So that Black man comes to the table and he says, Black women are ratchet. Black women are masculine, loud, and whatever else. Okay. What he's not saying is the Black women that were around me, They failed me. They did this. So, in other words, when we are at the table, if he can't have that conversation, the conversation between him and black women, the conversation between her and black men, it's never going to get anywhere, because the issue is not the collective. The issue is oftentimes individuals that they have not either found the guts, the courage, right? Or even had the space to confront. That's something that I am seeing. And that's just one observation of mine. Okay. Might not be true all across the board. So y'all don't come for me. All right. So I'm coming back to my topic. You just threw me off with that. But Ashan says definitely not honest with each other. But I also know from experience that not everyone can take honest feelings. They can't take more debt, don't know how to speak to it. That's very true. Um, Wanna ask, can mental health issues be healed, or is it always a work in progress? I'm not a mental health professional. Let me just put that out there right now. And I wish Natasha was here to answer this. I think that there are people that would tell you there are some mental health struggles that they have that they're going to struggle with for the rest of their life. That's always going to be with them. So it's going to be an ongoing, process. I don't want to get too much in debt with that because I am not a mental health professional. Now, as far as the issue of healing, I actually think that Black people should take a rest, a break from healing from time to time. That's why when I see Black people that is turning up and having fun and whatever, and you always got somebody that comes in and say, we got bigger things to worry about. Man, if you don't sit down and let them people have some fun, we deserve that. We deserve to have a break because it's just so much coming at us all the time, right? Why not make room for leisure, for entertainment, for fun, right? Because the reality is that having fun is a part of healing. That can be a tool of healing as well. So for me, I actually think that Black people should often take retreats and breaks from the whole process of healing. I think it's necessary. I think it's necessary. Um, Herb said, people really be hurt. One, I don't know what you're laughing at, but if it's me, Sir Hale, peace to you. I was cracking up laughing at Miss Hale, Sir Hale. She is hilarious. I was watching you guys on my aunt's show, and I had to do the playback, and I couldn't stop laughing. I said she is funny, and I left a comment saying Miss Hale is hilarious. I like her. I like your wife's energy. Um, he said, what's good, good people? Enya says, I notice a lot of our people have trust issues, as you stated. If you speak to someone in private, they can go to tell your business. So, in a way, it's hard to trust people. I agree. I agree. You can't trust everyone. I don't care what they look like. I do not care what they look like. Herb says, I had to learn to relax for my own health. I can be too serious. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Go out, have fun, go dancing. Your life can't just be about processing and healing 24/7, because if you keep that becomes exhausting in itself as well. So yes, I say having fun is a tool of healing as well. Okay, so don't count that out as a tool. So what are some of the other issues that being strong all the time actually contribute to? Mm, 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 mm. Getting help. We are ashamed to get help when we need it. Asking for help is admitting we can't. And for some of us, when I was writing this, you know what I thought about? I thought about my children, and I thought about how many of us were raised in environments where you were told things like, we don't say can't is not in your vocabulary. And when you're telling, because I've said it to my son, when it's being said to you, the people who are saying it means well, right? They are literally trying to encourage you to never give up, right? And I'm not an advocate of never giving up. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry, and that's we can talk about that too. Why we just be apologizing. I'm not an advocate of never giving up. I think there are times where people should be given space to give up, honestly. And when I say give up, I mean give up in the sense like sometimes giving up saves a person's life. Okay, a part of why there are people who someone posted a status on Facebook and they were asking about they posted a status, someone was saying something about she spent 13 years in the relationship with a guy and they divorced, and once she found out that he got with this girl, this new lady, and he stopped drinking, she said she bawled her eyes out. And she proceeds to say she bawled her eyes out because for the 13 years she had been with the man, that's all she ever wanted him to do was to stop drinking. And she said when he asked like what's the difference between her and the girlfriend, and this is a lot to unpack, guys. Um, he proceeded to say that the other lady had patience and whatever. And I was reading it and I was like, patience, that lady was with you for 13 years, right? But he was like, she just allowed him to heal at his own pace versus constantly throwing it up in in his face. And I had to really sit with that and think about that, and I was like, no, no. um because of this idea of ride or die black woman, not giving up, not quitting, all of that, these are messages we receive very young, and we take them into our relationships, and sometimes we are being harmed. We are being harmed. Like, that person might need help, and it might require help that's beyond our ability. We need to be able to acknowledge those things and say, I get that you need help, but me sticking around is hurting me as well, right? So my response to the status was like, I'm on the fence because I don't want to encourage people to stay in situations just for the sake of sticking it out while they are being harmed in the process. I can't in good conscience encourage that, right? And so but a lot of times we do that, whether it's friendships, jobs, relationships. It's because of the messaging that we receive, right? All the time. You don't quit, you don't give up, you push through. I had a friend of mine that had a boss, and it became a thing of like, it was an unhealthy situation, but it became a thing of um I'm gonna show her that I could stick this out. You know what I mean? And it became more about like proving a point than caring for self. And I'm not an advocate of that. So when I say I really believe that there is a place sometimes and a time for people to give up, and the people around them allowing the space for that to happen, I think that's important. I'm not one of, by any means necessary, burn out, kill yourself in the process, die earlier than the person that you're trying to help while they live and move on with someone else who then continues to help them. I'm not about that narrative. I'm not. And I don't apologize for it, right? Let me see what you guys are saying. Arshawn says, yes, that was a good stream on relationships with my aunt. Yes, it was. He says, true, the balancing act between pushing yourself to and through your limits and knowing your limitations. I agree, Arshawn. I agree. Yes, Herb says that's a good point. And Arshawn, a pesos may need help, and it may, a person may need help. Who, Arshawn, what is going on? I'm going to read it exactly the way you wrote it. Arshawn says, a pesos may need help, and it may hurt to see that and be with that. But what's the for better or worse mean with that idea? I'm enjoying this, Ashan, because you are so brilliant. So just to see these little mistakes, I'm reading them. What if I'm being harmed watching you have a health struggle? Where's the line? And I I agree. I agree. That's my take on it, is that I'm not encouraging anyone to stay in the way of someone else's pain, to continue to be harmed by that, just for the sake of saying you showed up and you did not jump ship, you did not abandon ship, you know. And even reading the status, that lady had already been there 13 years. I was like, what? I said, if that man even fixed his mouth and says she gave up, that's ridiculous. That's not on her, that's on him, you know. And that's no shade. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, so I was saying we're ashamed to get help when we need it. Asking for help is admitting that we can't. But what's wrong with admitting that we can't? That's the thing. What's the issue? You really believe that you're wired for everything? You really believe that you are built for everything? That everything you face, that you are wired to just, take it and just tackle it, right? And overcome it? You really believe that? Because if you believe that, right, we in trouble. All right. So what is the problem with saying I can't? It doesn't mean that you can't learn to, right? I can't doesn't mean that it stops there. But whatever it is you're facing and you can't, then get help. Reach out to someone, talk to someone, whether it's a professional, a family member, a trusted friend. Okay, for some people, a spiritual advisor. For some people, that is their God, their creator. Prayer works for some people. Okay, it's a way to get it off of their chests. Okay, I want to check. Oh, I see some new faces in here. My cousin, hey Tanisha, thank you for showing up. She says, growing up, we were told to keep problems private. Yes, 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 yes. And even just not problems in general, like family problems, but problems like any problems that you're going through. And that's what I'm saying. I think the messaging that a lot of us received when we were growing up, it has really shaped how we navigate friendships, relationships, how we how we see being vulnerable, all of those things, all of those messages that we grew up with or we received or we internalized, they shape who we become as adults. And so you have people who are sitting in silence, suffering through things, all in the name of you don't talk about it, all in the name of being strong, right? And for what? You know? Okay, let me move on from that. And so this is the other one I put up too. Another issue is that we wear masks in fear of being seen. Ashan, look, my mistake. We see being seen as a burden and not a blessing to connect with others. So we wear masks. I've been thinking a lot about masks lately. Okay. One of my friends actually sort of like connecting the wearing of masks during the pandemic to this idea of how we wear masks and how much wearing masks, how much it kind of like affects our intimacy, not being able to see each other, not being able to connect with each other, what wearing a mask does. That I was talking to her and I was saying, we wake up in the morning, we put on a mask, whatever that mask is for the day to get us through the day. We come home. Some of us sleep in our masks because we don't even want to face the reality of who we are. And so we sleep in our mask. And if any woman have ever fell asleep with the makeup on, you know what I'm talking about. I just had my friend got her face beat. She was like, I'm getting my money's worth. She slept in that makeup, y'all. I got up the next day and she took some pictures. She got I want to say she got 48 hours out of that beat face. So when I say we go to sleep with the mask, and when we wake up, because it's a thing of I'm not ready to even face who I am as an individual. And so we take the mask even to bed, right? Which is supposed to be the place that you're supposed to let loose and let your hair down. So one of the issues that being strong or the need to be strong all the time contributes to is that we wear masks in fear of being seen. What are you afraid of people seeing about you? What is your facade of strength hiding? What do you think would happen if they see you for who you are? Are you afraid of what? Not being loved? Are you afraid of, what are you afraid of? Abandonment? Like, those are some of the things that we have to ask ourselves, right? Um, Tanisha says sometimes you feel like you're sleeping with the enemy. Yes, that is facts. Okay. Yes, Tiffany, you laughing because you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Who is this? Herb said we've mastered not appearing vulnerable. We're good actors. I am so glad you touched on that, because one of my right here, this is what I have in my notes. Most of us are not really strong. We have just mastered the act of appearing strong. That's it. And how have we mastered the act? We've had a lot of practice. When you grew up in environments and home where there is no other way but to be strong, eventually it becomes second nature. It's like you could turn it on at any time. In fact, forget turning it on. It's always on. The switch is always on. How do you, we're masters of acting and appearing strong. We become masters of it. And so let me tell you guys something. I'm sharing with y'all, right? Do y'all know? So today I was having a rough day. I was just like, you know what? Okay, so I'm about to be a little vulnerable now, right? So most of you, I mean, some of you guys who is on here, you already know my situation with the job, right? So I have not worked since September, end of September. We in February now. I haven't been I haven't been employed since September. And that's when the mandates came down and I just refused to comply. I just did, right? It just went against my conscience, okay, and how I perceive everything that's happening. So I decided to opt out and say, no, I am not complying. And my job let me go. That was ending of September. So we got September, October, November, December, January. So 5 months thus far, I have not been employed. So I also just kind of been sitting because I'm in the space right now where it's like, I'm not about to go back under anybody's, I had worked this job for 12 plus years, y'all. So I'm still home, and do you guys know the guilt that comes with feeling unproductive? I've been processing this for like the last 3 months of this need to rest, this need to take a break. Why is it always followed with guilt, right? It's almost like, and I realized very quickly what it was. Us often attach our value to producing. Our value is often attached to what we can do. It's usually attached to our labor. It's usually attached to our productivity. And so when we are not functioning in that capacity, we feel useless and guilty, right? And so I've been dealing with this, y'all, right? And maybe that's why I had a rough day today too. But I have my days where I feel it and I'm like, oh, bummers, I need to go and just do something right now. And then other days, I'm just like it's like ecstasy. I'm just floating through the air. You can't touch me. Try if you can, but you're gonna miss. I'm just floating through the air, right? But then I have those days where it's just like, girl, you a bum and you lazy and you need to get up. And I have those days. So it's me really having to deal with that and to unpack it when it comes. I read a quote that says, when somebody said, they were asked, what do you do when you are faced with the need to produce? And the person replied, I go and lie down until it passes. And I like that quote because that's what I have to do sometimes, where it's just like, no. The need to like do immediately. You come out of one thing, you got to do. You come out of one relationship, you got to do relationship again immediately, because that's what you do. You come out of one job, and of course I know jobs is not just, it's a means of money, and that's how we survive. I'm not dismissing that. You know what I mean? Um, but and I also know that I had kind of like some cushion. And so, and then I have a really, really awesome guy. I have a really awesome king. And so there's a lot of factors that allows me to rest in this space right now. But I had savings and stuff, y'all. And I could have decided I'm just gonna go back out and get into it and hold on to my savings, or I'm just gonna take my ass somewhere and relax. And that's kind of the space I'm in. But I brought that up to talk about the guilt that comes with that is sometimes unbearable. I have to fight through it a lot, but I want to get to what you guys are saying. um hey Dawn, good to see you, sis. It's been a while. Danique says, I'm afraid of my peace being broken and disrupted. Yeah. Enya says they will disown you and say, haha, I told you so. Yes, yes. Ashan said, I heard there's a dichotomy with the mask: strength mask, weakness, humor. Yes, yes, yes. And you know what I learned, Ashan, that some people who are constantly like clowning, that's their way of that is their mask oftentimes. You have people who have committed suicide, and someone would say they were always the life of the party, they were always joking, they were always on joke time, and the reality is that that was the mask that they were. We all have our different masks that we choose to pick up and put on. For some people who are just jokesters, we say clowns, that's their mask that they choose that keeps people at bay. Because if I can entertain you, right, with my jokes, I could distract you from seeing me for who I really am. And I'm not saying that's everyone, but I know of situations where that is definitely the case. Okay. Oh, Patrice. Yes. I don't need, this was early when the mandates was just coming down, OG Patrice. So yes, they started because in the government here, the federal government here, other jobs here. I want to say yes. I want to say yes. Um, Started mandating it in different areas because there were friends of mine who it hadn't reached them yet, and then eventually it did come to their job. So yeah, but yeah, and OG Patrice, I'm just gonna say this. Yeah, they called me like, do you know they called me like a month after that, right? And try to offer me another position to bring me back that was paying less. I never returned those people's call. No. Inya says, this is something that I battle with being a stay-at-home wife and mother. I felt unproductive, even though I'm doing a lot, if that makes sense. I've been home almost 10 years. And Inya, I've been home, I'm gonna explain that, for almost, I want to say about over 8 years. When I say home, I had taken a position at my job that allowed me to be home during the daytime, and I only worked 2 days out of the week. So I worked one 16-hour shift, and then I worked one 24-hour shift. So, and the days were spread out. So I worked like a 16 on Wednesday from like 5 p.m. to Thursday morning. And then on Saturday, I would work like from 5 p.m. Saturday to 5 p.m. Sunday. And then that's it. Like that was my schedule. And that was deliberate. I chose that schedule on purpose. I actually chose that schedule not right before, like a couple of years before I had my toddler, which everything worked out, right? That's why you got to kind of follow your inner wisdom. But yes, so I've been home literally with my children for like over 8 years. Over 8 years. But the thing is, I was still employed. It's so funny that you're saying that because it's almost like we don't think that we're productive unless we're employed, unless we have a boss or someone over us, right? We don't look at certain tasks like being a housewife, like you just said, as being productive, as work. We don't look at it that way because the way that we define work in this country is usually connected with fiat. Are you being paid for it? Are you getting paid weekly or bi-weekly for it? Then we tend to not put it under the category of, put it in the category of work. So I understand that very much so. um Herb says the resting is part of the process to be productive in the long term. I agree. We should reset. We should hit the reset button as much as we need to. um Arshawn said, thank you, Dawn. Always love your insights and questions. Ah, 100 watts. It's good to see you. I miss you. I did tell you I miss you the other day. I miss seeing your face. I've kind of been like, you know, in the background, just kind of watching a lot of you guys talk and so forth. But yes, the world, and this is a man talking right here, right? The world don't care about your pain. Results is all the world really care about. Outcomes. Outcomes. Period. I used to work for someone that says outcomes. What is the outcome? That is the focus. And I think that men get this much earlier than we do as women. Men get this really, really early. I mean, I've been in enough conversations with Black men where it's just like, yeah, I hear all of that, but we do not have the luxury of thinking like that. There is no space in this world for us to think like that. So I get you, 100 watts. I get you. I get you. And that's why I'm big on the world may not provide us the space to be, to just be. And this is why we have to provide the space for each other to just be. That's where I'm coming from. Because when we send our loved ones, your husbands, your children, your sons, your daughters, right? When they go out into the world, you have to assume, because we live in a society that treat human beings like machines. You have to assume, right, that they are being beaten up throughout the day. And so what do? You make sure that they have someplace safe to come to after it. That's our job. So, yes, I get the world. The world is going to be the world, right? Capitalism is going to be capitalism, right? This society is going to be this society. But who are we to each other? That's where I want to get to. Who are we to each other? Yes, they hate us. Do we love us? Yes, they could care if they could care less whether we live or die. Do we care whether we live or die? Yes, they will hurt us and not even bat an eye and not even usher an apology. Are we apologizing to each other? Are we loving on each other? So that's where I'm coming from. We are responsible for ourselves, and we are responsible for our communities, and we are responsible for our homes. We are responsible for those who are directly connected to us. We are first responsible for ourselves. So when you're burnt out and that job don't care that you're burnt out, you are responsible for you taking care of you. Well, what does that look like? Men, y'all barely take vacation time. What that look like? So that's what I'm getting at. But I hear you, 100 watts. I've been in many conversations with men, and oh, that's usually you guys respond, but you don't have the luxury. And I get it. I agree. Don says timely subject. Yes, 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 yes. My aunt said, especially with everyone chasing the bag. Oh, that's a conversation. Oh, my aunt, that's a conversation that I just need a whole panel to talk about this. And it's very interesting because men see this completely different, because I think that men has that like that wiring to provide. So this conversation with men, as far as chasing the bag and so forth, it looks very different. It looks very different. So I think we should set that up, my aunt. Let's get a panel together to talk about whether chasing the bag is good for us or not. Like, let's talk about that. You know what I mean? So thank you for that. Enya says, yes, society can make you feel less than because we are not receiving a paycheck. Yep. Yep. Right, Sean, no outcomes, no income. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. Oh, yes, you are missed. I love all you guys, man. You guys have no idea. I love Black people. I do. I do. I have a special place in my heart for Black men. So when you guys see me complimenting you guys, and it is genuine, it's coming from a genuine place. It is not for show at all. Like if you're missing, I'm gonna realize that you're missing. And then I saw you on something, and then I commented and I say, okay, he good, because you probably would have ended up getting a message from me at some point, because that's what I do. I don't care if we don't need to be best friends for me to check on you. So yeah. um Want to see if I can draw on you on Wednesday. Okay. Oh, man, you got me all in y'all business, Sean. Okay, moving on. All right. Okay, so I think I mentioned this. For most of us, strong and tired cannot exist in the same space. So we think acknowledging that we are tired makes us weak. And well, God forbid, God forbid that we ever appear weak. But yes, for a lot of us, we think that resting because we're tired, or admitting to being tired, we don't think that we could be strong in our own right and also be tired, right? And I know this is probably rings true for a lot of men, where you don't think that you can be strong and be tired, because tiredness is seen as weakness, and that's not true. There's a lot of, and this where the suicide piece comes up, where we talk about people that it doesn't. I heard somebody said, I think this was on King's platform one time. I was watching, I don't know, it was somebody's platform, and yes, I think it was King's, and I think King had to dismiss the guy because he made a comment about people who commit suicide. It was very insensitive. People who commit suicide is weak, and that is so insensitive and ridiculous and such a lie. Such a lie. Okay? People get tired. People don't give up like that because they're weak. People get tired. Now, whether their reality is exaggerated or not in their minds, it doesn't matter. It still leads to, I am tired. And we really have to allow space for each other to be tired. Mothers, you are allowed to be tired. Today, I had a day. I had to send my son to the basement to his daddy. And did I know his dad was on the clock? Yes. But in the moment, I was like, you know what? I'm protecting you from my mouth right now, because I swear I was about to yell him downstairs. Okay. Because it was nap time and he wouldn't sleep. But it really wasn't the fact that we go through this every day. He gives me a struggle with taking a nap. But today, it just seemed extra. And it wasn't extra because he was extra. It was extra because my ass was tired and he couldn't get it. Right? And I don't expect him to. He's a toddler. So what did I do? I separated us. Go to your dad. He left. He went to his dad in the basement. Girl, I have not seen him since. I saw him right before I came on, and his dad took him out. I don't know. His dad may have heard me. I don't know. I just was like, let me just take him outside or whatever. But I just couldn't. I couldn't. I literally was just trying to get him to sleep so I could take a quick nap before I did this. And it just wasn't happening, y'all. It wasn't happening. Okay. Now, does that make me less of a mother? No, no. I'm a mother. I have moments. I get tired. I get frustrated. I get annoyed. Okay. And sometimes I want to be left alone. As difficult as that is with a toddler, I still have those feelings, and I think I have a right to them, because there is my role as a mother, and then there's me as a person. And me as a person was tired as hell. And so I could not function in that moment in my role as a mother. Go, go by your father. So I separated us and I gave myself room, and I'm feeling much better. So when I see him and he comes back, I'm going to give him the biggest hug because I do miss him. And I'm gonna tell him I love him, and we're gonna move on. That's it. But yes, you can be strong and tired at the same time. You can. You can. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging I am tired and I need rest. I am tired and I need a break. I just watched an interview with a husband and a wife, and the husband was saying to his wife, "Today I did not feel like being a father and a husband." Now, that was vulnerability. That was vulnerability. Now, here's my thing though. Everybody ran to, you might be dealing with clinical depression. I was like, no, it doesn't have to be clinical depression. He made us be having a moment. Can we allow space for moments? Everything does not have to be a diagnosis. Everything does not have to be therapy. Everything does not have to be clinical. We are human beings. Sometimes we get worn out. So I think it was just like you don't feel like being a dad? You don't feel like being a husband? Oh my God, get him some help. This should not be. That's we overreact sometimes, man. And again, I really think it's because the expectation is for us to be strong all the time. And so when that's not happening, we go to the other extreme. Then it's a clinical thing. So you need help. We go from one extreme, being strong all the time. And if you're not strong, then we jump to the other extreme. Then you must need some help. Your mental health, is in trouble. And I don't think it's always that. Are there times where that's the issue? Yes. But is it always that? No. I think we need to leave room for people to just be human beings, man. You know what I mean? My ads say yes, very true concerning men. Well, no, Hanifa, you love so-called black men. Y'all play too much. That's petty. And I miss my girl. I ain't seen her a while, but yes, you petty for that one. Yes, I love so-called black men. Yes, I love black men and so-called black men. Right? Yes. Yes, I do. Love you back. We love your fire. Thank you. Yes, set it up, my aunt and Hanifa. Chasing the bag or running. Ooh. Ooh. My aunt, Inya just gave us a whole title. I like that. I like that title, Inya. 100 watts says, depending on where you come from, weakness equals death. And I'm going to get into that too, because I realize that when people talk about us, like black people always needing to be strong, we have a history of needing to be strong. Our ability to be strong, our survival depended on our ability to be strong. That's a fact, right? When our men were being lynched, when our men were dying in the streets, right? When our men would leave out and not come home and being dragged behind trucks, right? And being murdered, for just, having eye contact, somebody had to pick it up. Somebody had to take care of the family, right? And we don't even have to go back to the plantation. We could go. Jim Crow wasn't that long ago. Segregation was not that long ago. And then we fast forward now. There are still mothers. There are still mothers that worry. There are still wives that worry when their black husbands leave the house. So we have a history of needing to be strong. So that's why I'm not trying to minimize that. I'm trying to talk about what it has done to us over the years. Is it a good thing? And if it's not, how? Because and let me just say this, I am not one of those that believe racism does not exist. I am not one of those. As long as racism exists, we are going to deal with this problem. I'm aware of that. So what I want us to start to think about, because racism ain't going to place tomorrow. I mean, unless Thanos come through and like, boom, you know what I'm saying? And we know Thanos ain't coming through. Okay, unless Thanos coming like, okay, racism is gone, it's not happening. So being that we know that racism is not going anywhere right now, what are we doing as a people, as a community, to insulate ourselves? And when I say insulate, I mean in our home environments, for example, what are we doing to make sure that we are providing space for each other to unwind, to just be, to be vulnerable, to be weak, to find rest, to find fortress, to find solitude? What are we doing? Are you safe? Are you a safe person? for the person you with, for your friends, for your children. That's what I'm speaking to. Because racism ain't going nowhere. As long as that exists, Black people gonna always feel the need to be strong, because that's the history that we have. Because our survival depended on it, right? So yes, I agree with that. Inya say, you talking about my toddler, Inya? Yes, talk about him. Y'all talk about that little toddler. 100 Watts said, my daughter's mother called me one time crying because she needed a break. Drop everything and drop that 26 hours the next day. I'm telling you, that's what I mean. 100 Watts. Like, you could have easily in that moment say, it's not my day. Okay. Shoo, when I'm tired, shoo, I gotta figure it out. You figure it out. But no, that's what I mean. How are we showing up for each other? How are we showing up? You say you drove that 26 hours the next day. Salute to you, sir. That's what I mean by that. How are we showing up for each other in that way? How are we supporting each other on our mental health journey, making sure that we're good? Like, what does that look like outside of racism, right? What does that look like when people are in your space? When you are in Black spaces, are they safe? Are they safe? That's why I'm big on even like YouTube. When we're in YouTube and you have predominantly Black people on a panel, we need to be careful how we talk to each other. We need to be careful how we cut each other off, how we disrespect each other, how we, just dismiss each other. We got to be careful. Every place that we show up with each other as a collective need to be places of respect, places of solace, places of healing. Like, not drama. We have that every day in our lives, right? And so that's why I'm big on that. So it's like, what are we giving each other? So shout out to you, 100 Watts, because there are some people, and I know some mothers that will be like, I know he ain't calling me, talking about he tired. When I gotta be juggling, when I got this child, figure it out. Figure it out. But if that person is calling and saying, I need a break, I'm tired, I don't care if it's a man or a woman. We need to hear each other and say, you know what? Let me see what I could do. Listen, I co-parent. 100 Watts. I co-parent one day. If I could get my ex-husband on this platform and his wife, I would love to have that conversation with them, because there is no way that he could call and say, there's no way. If I call and say, I'm just tired, bring my son. That would be the response. Bring my son. Or do you need me to pick him up? That's how we are to deal with each other, man. And that's where I'm getting that. 100 Watts. Go find your daddy. Yeah, you got two parents. Yeah, I know. I don't know if y'all know this, but toddlers, especially when they're attached. I breastfed up until my son was 2.5 years old. So there's this attachment that he has. Like, he literally just stopped breastfeeding like September past, maybe. No, August past last year. He literally just like stopped breastfeeding, right? So he has this connection to me, and I swear you'll never know he has two parents. Okay, I have to remind him every chance we get. All right. Who is this? Oh, Candid Ann, peace, greetings to everyone. Greetings to you, sis. Thanks for passing through. Tiffany says, I have that feeling with a teenager. I couldn't function yesterday. We have those days. Yes. Even the children that's supposed to be independent. Wasn't you just begging for your independence? Okay, here you go. Why are you still up underneath me? Hilarious. 100 Watts say, well, shoot, call me crazy because I love my naps. Yeah, naps are important. And if any of you guys, are not following this sister, she calls herself the Nap Bishop on Instagram. Anyone I talk to, I tell them about her. She's called the Nap Bishop, and her not a business, but her ministry is called the Nap Ministry. I think she's the daughter of like a pastor or something, but she's done a lot of woman studies and so forth. And she considers rest. She is pushing for us to embrace rest as a tool of liberation. It's a very, very controversial topic, controversial once you really begin to consume it, because it disrupts everything that you think should be. I've been following her for some years. So if you guys get a chance, check her out, because she talks a lot about using rest as a tool of liberation. I find that that's so different, because when we think about liberation, it's like a lot of aggression and fighting and revolution and so forth. And here she is saying, no, rest. Whew, that's a whole other conversation. I swear, if I could get her on here, I would bring her on. 100 watts said this brother is getting popped going for a run. And exactly. Funny you say that. What the ancestors went through is often used to shine a light on our frailty. Really, Asha? By who? I usually feel like a lot of people use that as this badge of honor, like, and don't get me wrong, we are some resilient people. You can't take that from us. I mean, you talk about, forget these people. We were captured, enslaved, labored for centuries, and then we were hung, persecuted, deemed less than human. We're still being killed. I watched a video the other day of teenagers in the mall, a white teenager and a black teenager fighting, and everyone is with their phones out. And then the police came. They do not know who started it or what, and they immediately went, pinned the black boy and the black teenager on the floor and put cuffs on him while they sit the white teenager down. This is still real. This is still happening, right? So we are resilient people. We are still alive, still pushing through, still reproducing, right? Still progressing, still growing, still healing, despite all of that. So I actually think a lot of people actually use it as a badge of honor, to where it's like, and we should be proud of our resilience. These people wanted to kill us, and here we are, still alive. I think that's something to celebrate. In fact, if it's Friday, y'all should celebrate. If you ain't got no reason to celebrate that tonight. Damn it. Go there Friday. I'm celebrating the fact that we still here. How about that? Yeah. Okay, let me move on because I digressed. All right. So what are some of the other issues? Oh, whew, I had a moment today, right? So I realized that our tears are reserved for funerals and private spaces, the shower, the car, in the pillow, etc. We see crying as, it's almost like we see crying as a sin, right? And it's not that we don't cry, we refuse to be seen crying, right? I see a lot of like healing retreats, and I often think about, I hope they have a session where people are just allowed to like go out somewhere, up on a mountain somewhere, and you just have a screaming ceremony. Just have a screaming ceremony where people are able to release. They don't have to tell you what they're releasing. They don't have to tell you why they're screaming, but they're given a space for them to just scream and release. Some of us won't even cry in front of our children because we think it weakens our position as a parent. But what we don't realize is that we are also teaching our children to hold back their tears. We are also teaching our children to harbor emotions that should be released. And if you are harboring emotions that should be released, then you are creating sickness in your body. So you're not doing your children any favors by constantly trying to be strong in front of them. What you are doing is just passing that on to another generation. And we don't want that. We want the generations to come. We want them to heal, you know. I want to make sure that I shout out. Oh, let me get them. All right, I blocked them. Thanks, 100 watts. Sherelle, peace. Hey, beautiful. How are you? I saw a sister talking about trucking. The title of her thing on YouTube was "Trucking is Not Hard," and I immediately thought about you. I was like, maybe Cheryl should do an interview about trucking. Um, Let me see. Good to see you, Cheryl, as usual. I saw you over there and those all nighters. I think they sound like Pif. Those all nighters. You be up in there giving them people a run for their money for no reason, Cheryl. For no reason. Okay, just disrupting the entire establishment. I swear, I'll be chuckling. I don't stay, but I'll pass through and be like, let me see what Cheryl's saying. And you be in there giving them guys a run as usual. I love to see it. 100 watts. I'm stick to 100 watts. I had a moment in the shower today, and that's what brought this up. Is like I was in the shower, right, and I was just like, ain't nobody upstairs, and I'm in the shower, and I had a crying session, and I was like, after that, after I finished my shower, I said, why are you in secret in this shower, hiding, crying, girl? What is the problem? And then I had to process that as to how many of us do that. Like, how many of us pull up from work, we had a rough day, or just dealing with a situation, and we sit in the car, like we sit an extra 30 minutes to an hour in the car before we go inside. And then when we go inside, Sean, this is one of the masks. We get the mask out the glove compartment, we put it on, and we go into the house. Hey everyone, and action. But we sat in that car for about 30 minutes to gather ourselves, an hour or so. So for some of us, it's the shower. For some of us, it's the car. For some of us, we'd be like, I'll be back. I'm going to the store. But you really just needed that drive, so you could cry. And I think it goes back to I think it's Keisha. Her name is Kiosha. Kiosha was saying, we just don't want pity. We don't want people feeling sorry for us. I think that's a part of that too, because it's like, I think at the root of it is that we think our pain or our hurt or what we're going through is a burden to somebody else. I really think that's what it boils down to. Oh, that's okay, Ashan. I kind of blacked them. Yeah, that's what I mean. Not Lapif, it's Anton's, I guess. I guess it's Anton's channel. Yes, you be over there giving them people a headache, but I don't expect anything less. Inya says, crying is a beautiful thing. Without crying, that sadness can turn to hardness. Your heart will be hard as a rock. I agree. I actually wish that more men would cry. But even in that situation, and I can say this, I had an ex that, and Tiffany might know who I'm talking about. She probably gonna start laughing. I had an ex that used to sit, like we would be hanging out, and he would just start crying. I am not even going to front you guys. It used to throw me off at first because I was just like, why are you crying? And then he would express himself, and it was just like, he was just happy to be with someone like me, and all this other stuff. And I'm just gonna be honest, it made me really uncomfortable, right? And then as time went on, I realized that more men, and whether it's friends or, were actually a little bit more comfortable crying around me. And so I had to learn what to do in those situations, because you can easily make a person shut down, especially men. So as a woman, if you see crying as a weakness, especially if it's coming from the vessel that is man, if you see that as a weakness, then you're not a safe space. You're not safe. You are not safe for a man to come and express himself, whatever that look like. You are not safe. You're just not. Okay? You can present as, I love him, but if that man can't even have a good crying session in front of you without you feeling like he's weak and perhaps causing you to maybe lose respect for him, you're not a safe space. You're not. And that's what I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about these outside forces that are against us. I'm talking about us being against us, and us being in each other's way, and us blocking each other, right? And us not supporting each other. That's what I'm talking about, because that's the things that's what we can control. Okay. So yes, Inya, I agree. Crying is a release. It's a release. Um, Cheryl said, yes, that's how I be handling my grief. Um, the flea feel feel that way. Okay. I don't get what you're saying with the flea. You might I'm not pointing at anyone, but some of us cry with things like eating. Hey, hey, Ashan. Of course you're gonna take us there. I don't know that we're crying. I think that, and I've been thinking a lot about weight and what weight, I'm a person, I tend to analyze a lot, if you guys don't know that. And so I'm always thinking on another level versus the level that it appears to be on. So I've been thinking a lot about weight lately, right? And I don't necessarily think that that's crying through food. I actually think the food is a way to suppress that level of expression, to be honest, Ashan. I think it is what suppresses our crying, honestly. um I think food is one. I think drugs, alcohol, because the feeling is what you're suppressing. The feeling that would lead to the crying is what we suppress. And I think we use food and so forth to suppress the feeling. Black people have a serious issue with feeling. I actually think a lot of it has to do with our, and this at this point, this is in us. I think a lot of it had to do with our ancestors just didn't have the time. They just didn't have the time. They didn't have the time to have conversations like this. They didn't have the time to feel and to express those feelings and to be caught up in them and to unpack them. They just didn't have the time to do so. I think we owe it to them to do it. Right? I don't think they had the time to do that. And I even want to go as far as saying, even today, some of us, we don't have that luxury because mouths have to be fed, right? Children have to be taken care of. We have families with dementia and other health problems. We don't have time to cry and to sit with our tears and our feelings. We don't. So our ancestors didn't, and now we have also inherited that. And I'm going to keep saying it. As long as racism and so-called or the illusion of white supremacy exists, we will always have that problem. So being that we know that, how are we treating each other? That's what I am concerned about. That's what's important to me. Okay. Sherelle, you said all my dudes have cried in front of me, never felt like they was weak. Shit, they're human. I've seen my daddy cry. That hurt my poor soul to see him cry. Yeah. But Sherelle, some of us ain't never had daddies to see them cry. Some of us ain't never had daddies to see them cry. And the manhood that we grew up around, the men and what we know as manhood is toughness, or presented as toughness. So when you have a guy that is just like spilling his tears all over you, slobbing and snot and stuff coming out their nose, yeah, you're gonna give them a tissue, but how does that make you feel as a woman? Right? Do you now look at him as weak? Do you lose respect for him? Because if you do, then you have to check yourself. Why is that? Because perhaps your idea of masculinity and your idea of manhood is warped. Somebody has defined it for you. You have accepted it as such. And if your idea of masculinity is hardness, then you are not a safe space for real masculinity. I'm just saying. Okay? Because the most masculine of men hurt. The most masculine of men endure pain, deal with pain, deal with everyday struggles. That doesn't take away from their masculinity. Neither does crying. Okay? Sherelle, she said the flea is definitely in ghetto terms. Okay, I don't know what the flea means. You're gonna have to do a chef for us. Sherelle, and put the flea and the definition, please. Help us out. Help us out. Pillow Talk say, hey, Hanifa Naila, hey. She's just saying shout out to all of us. I'm glad to see you here, sis. Welcome. Welcome as usual. Um, Sherelle said, right, we are the ones who get to be human, and there's nothing wrong with exactly. And that's why I think that women don't understand that we, in a sense, we get to be a little bit more human in certain capacities, especially when it comes to accessing the full spectrum of our emotions. No one is judging us for that. No one is snatching our femininity away from us, from not just crying, but expressing hurt and pain. In fact, it's expected, because what do they call us? Emotional. Because you're emotional. You know what I'm saying? As if men are void of emotion. Y'all better stop listening to these people that make y'all believe that masculinity is void of emotion. Masculinity void of emotion is what they're really talking about when they talk about toxic masculinity. And I don't even like that term per se, but I can't think of another one. It's unhealthy. How about that? Okay. Sean says, well, I'll speak for me then. I ate in lieu of crying. It didn't suppress or comfort. Each bite can be sad, painful, and shameful, just like tears. It's socially accept. Ooh, Ashan, you make a very good point. I get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying. It's socially acceptable to eat, not cry. For, and I'm going to add to that, specifically for men. I'm reading a book right now. It's called The Strong Black Woman. And it's talking about how the strong Black woman narrative and trope is killing us as Black women. And one of the issues that it comes out of that narrative, or us trying to uphold that, is health issues, right? Overeating, because you're not allowed to express that, because you see it as taken away from your Blackness. And so what do? You suppress it, you internalize it, right? Like you just said, it's more acceptable in certain spaces to eat, not cry. And I think about my church days. Man, yeah, don't go back and tell them this, okay? My church days, listen, the church has, and I don't want to make it seem like it's a church thing, because the church, the people in the church is the people in the society, right? Y'all ever seen a Black church choir? Y'all ever seen a Black church choir? Y'all ever seen the unhealthiness that is present in our churches? When I was in church, them people could eat. We had a fish fry all the time. I think every Sunday we went out to eat. Oh Lord, when it was revival week, okay, because you know revivals they'll go on for like a week, okay, but 5 days. You might have a 5-day revival. Okay. That might be exaggeration. You might have a 3-day revival, because I was a part of a Pentecostal church, and anybody that know Pentecostal, y'all know how they get down. So it might be 3 days. 3 days revival. And after every session, because the restaurants are probably closed, because Pentecostals will go all night if you let them. So by the time they get out, the only thing that may be open is the diner. After every service, we eating. And if you're going, because service is finishing at like 10, 11 o'clock, you're eating late at night. If you're not eating late at night, you're eating at somebody's house because the restaurants are closed. There's so much of communion and connecting in church that revolves around food. So much of it. So when you just said that, my mind just kind of went there, because I remember those days, and it's real. It's a real, and again, this is no shade to the church. It's not. Okay, that was my experience. The Pillow Talk says, my father lost his twin brother, and it hurt me not to see him cry, because I can only imagine how painful that was for him. That's what hurt me, not seeing him cry. Yeah. he may have cried. We were just talking about those private crying sessions. He may have cried. He just may not have cried in front of you guys. I don't know, because we're not with people 24/7, and I really do believe that sometimes people get it out in the way that they can. They might cry. And what's this thing with us of cutting our crying sessions short? Like we cry, and it's like if we cry around people, there's two things I realize that we do. We either apologize for crying. We do that a lot. Women, I know for a fact women do this. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for crying. We apologize for crying, or we cut off our crying session prematurely because we're feeling like, you know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? Like, why am I laying this on these people? And so we cry this. I could tell when somebody cut off their crying session prematurely. I could always tell. And for me, when I find myself in those spaces, I just be like, just let it out. Just go for it. It's no judgment here. And I might cry. I may cry with them depending on what's going on. So that's two things that I realized we do. But yeah, he may have cried. He may have. Maybe. And yeah, say unity, love black women, black men to begin to infinity. Oh, Queen Latifah, we have to grow together. We can do it. I agree. Cheryl coming through with the definition. She's chefing us today. The flea is the word. Oh, but sentence, please. When you're in the spelling bee definition, sentence, please. I need you to use it in a sentence, okay? Knowledge and relationships in the house. Shout out to you. Just do it. Love this conversation. I'm still working on this. I box and hit the track to release, even though I know I got a shoulder. Yeah, I was just gonna say the screaming, boxing, whatever that is to release that frustration, I think is helpful, So yeah, I mean, just do it. You're a guy. You're not alone in that. Trust me. Trust me. And then some of us women who grew up in tough environments, aka the hood, right? We've had to adapt a strong exterior as a means to survive. Listen, you can't be a punk in the hood. I don't even know how else to put that. Woman or man, you just can't. If you are, you're gonna just be ran home every day, ran home from school. You're gonna be getting slaps in the back of your head. Like, you just can't afford to do that. So when you live in those type of environment like the hood, you learn very early on, even if it's performative, how to show up as strong, even if it's just performative, because you just don't want to be caught slipping. Like, that's just a fact. And a lot of us carry it into adulthood, and some of us just forget the hood, because all of us didn't grow up in the hood. There are people who just come from families where it just wasn't okay to be vulnerable. It just wasn't. Your mama wasn't, your daddy wasn't, your siblings wasn't, your grandmother wasn't. Okay, girl, if you don't wipe them tears and pull yourself together, some of us got that speech growing up, right? So it don't have to necessarily be the environment. Like, as far as like living in hood environment, it could be the environment as far as the home and the expectations of your family. Okay, but anyway, I'm going through the comments. I want to move on. Okay. Oh, see, she said he did cry, but I would have liked to cry with him. I know. I get it. I get it. Okay, Anya look like she about to go into the church, but she said she digressed. Yeah, pull it in. We're not talking about the church today, Anya. Maybe one day we would. We will talk about the church, but not today. And in order to talk about the church, I'm gonna have to bring some people on, because my fire around church is like, it's something else. So I try not to do that, because I love my brothers and sisters in Christ, and I am very careful not to offend, because that's their outlet, that's their means of connecting with their creator. And so if that's the tool, or that's the avenue that they've chosen, then I try not to, even though I have my own personal feelings, because I've lived it. I try not to go there. So I understand. So you're right. She said, I digress. Cry and get it out. Now press on. I agree 100 watts. I agree. I agree. Yes, that's true. We feel bad when we cry. Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, knowledge and relationship kicking some gems here. He said shedding tears is the best strength to healing. I agree. Um. Oh, okay, Cheryl. Cheryl said, I definitely love Hanifa. Oh, I'm gonna have to practice using that, Cheryl. Is that like a New Orleans thing? I definitely, meaning definitely. Okay, got it. I got it. I got it. She said, I would definitely love to win the lottery. Okay, I get it now. Okay, okay. I learned something today. Ashan said crying feels like everyone else present is holding the emotional weight. So when you drop the tears, it's like not holding up your end, so you feel bad. Yeah, yeah, I got you. That's true. That's true. But I wanna go ahead and tackle because the time is running. I get so caught up in when I engage you guys, the time just goes by so quickly. Oh Lord. Let me see if I can maybe catch everything else. Yeah, so this one here, to expect someone to be strong all the time is dehumanizing to them. To expect yourself to be strong all the time is also it is to also dehumanize yourself. Because at the end of the day, we are, and I put here, we are not machines. We are living, breathing beings with hurts and pains who should have the right to express them without judgment. Okay, without judgment. And that's what I'm getting at when I talk about us. Like, yes, the rest of society may not give a shit about what we think, what we feel. Okay, but we need to give a shit about what we think and feel. That's all I'm saying. Okay, we need to make sure that we are safe spaces for each other. We need to make sure that we are loving and gentle spaces for each other, whether it's a group of men, a group of women, or it's a co-ed situation, whatever that is. We need to make sure that we are loving, safe spaces for each other, especially in a society where we know they don't really care that much about people that look like us. Like, what do we do with that? And I think one way to counter that is to be there for each other, to love on each other, to care for each other, to tune into each other, to not use how are you doing as a greeting, right? But to use it as genuine concern. How are you doing today? And being able to answer that question without feeling burdensome to the person who asked it. That's what I'm getting at. How do we do better in that department? Are you a safe space? Is that something that you maybe, and you guys can answer in the comment section? Is that because I know I'm constantly working on being a safe space because I have a mouth on me. And I'm being honest here. And I also have I come from a culture of people. I like to say we don't have any Sunday. Okay. I come from a culture of people that just don't really filter. Like if you in the Caribbean and if you go back home and you gain some weight, they're gonna tell you fat. Okay, it's no holding back. And you could be like listen, you could be struggling with your weight gain. They don't care about that, girl. Why you so fat now? Look how fat you get. I know my accent is coming up, but look how fat you get. That's that when you hear in Caribbean culture, you know the disrespect is coming. Look how fat you get, girl. Right? I come from that type of culture, and so the straightforwardness that is a part of me, I have to be careful because that can easily make me an unsafe space for others. Like it's just something I have to constantly work on. It's my reality. Because when somebody comes to me about something and I know damn well, right? They come to me and they say, I fell in the hole, right? And I know that they set themselves up for this. My comeback might be, you didn't just fell in the hole, you dig the hole that you fell in, right? But in that time, in that moment, they may not need to hear that, right? They just might need to hear, I'm so sorry that you fell in the hole. I'm so sorry you fell in that hole. Later on, you might have the conversation of, but had you not dig the hole, you probably would not have fell in it. I come from that. I come from that environment. I come from that culture. So it's something I constantly have to work on. The same thing with my children, being a loving space for them. I was talking to a friend of mine and I'm telling her, like, we have to really learn how to be friendly to our children without being their friend. No one is saying that you need to be your child's best friend. So it's figuring out how to be friendly to your child without being their friend. Some of us are at home and we're treating our friends and strangers at work better than the people who live in the house with us, right? We have patience and we have love and gentleness for complete strangers, for people at work. And we can't share that sentiment with the people that live right in the same space with us, our children, our spouses, our family members, right? So just being cognizant of that, So yeah, I just wanted to actually, so let me just go ahead. If you guys want to come up, I know we're coming down to the last. If you guys want to come up, I meant to paste this in. See, the link is, I'm sharing the link right now. And you guys could come up and say your piece. Share with me what you guys think about being strong, the need to be strong all the time. How has that harmed you or helped you? Okay, because for some of us it has helped. Look at my sister. What did I tell you guys? What did I tell you guys? Look at my sister. She's saying, I am not a safe space. She says, I am not a safe space, not even at work. Well, you can do better, okay? You have a significant other that you live with. I'm sure you're a safe space for her. So if you're not a safe space, just finding ways for where you could be a better, where people are comfortable coming talking to you and releasing, because we're all going through something. That's just a fact. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care where you're at in life. We are all dealing with something. Ashan, yes, that's my point. He says facts. My mother would hug strangers and not her kids. It's funny because when I was having this conversation with my friend, one of the things that came up was that, to where I was telling her, like, that's a part of why a lot of children, and again, I'm using the church as an example, you will see pastors' kids, people who parents are on the board, the deacon is board or whatever, and they're rebelling. And I always say to people, they'll be like, I don't know how their mom is such a prayer warrior. No, you know their mother in church. You do not know them behind closed doors. I've heard children who grew up in those environments say they will watch their parent be of service to others, be the kindest person ever to others, and come home and call them bitches and lazy and all sorts of other names and be the meanest person to them. So Ashan, that's a fact, and that's what I'm saying. How are you finding it in yourself to be kind to other people, and you can't be kind to the people who love you the most? There's a problem. I think that goes back to the mask, because it's important to us who we present ourselves to be to the outside world. Forget the inside world. The outside world, how we are perceived, is important, is more important than how we treat the people closest to us. So Ashan, that's a fact. That is a fact. Oh, I would have loved for you guys. It's fine. Ashan, don't play me, Ashan, okay? He's like, honey, if I always drop the link and says we have 3 minutes before we wrap. No, actually, if someone comes up and the conversation keeps going, I don't care about that. I really don't. But I would love for you guys to come up and share. Don't encourage him. My don't encourage him. Don't do that. Don't do that. Ashan said he got over it early. He said, but I always felt bad for my two sisters watching her asking to hug random people to comfort them at her own daughter's surgery appointment. Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing. And I want to have I've been, this is, I want to have a conversation about toxic mothers. Well, here's what I found. Because of the high rate of single mother led households in our community, it's a taboo topic. It's a touchy topic to talk about. It almost feels like biting the hand that fed you. I'm going to put a call out for it, and maybe I'll get some of you guys to come on the panel and have the conversation. But this is a conversation I feel we need to have, because a lot of us were raised in households where it was just mothers, right? And one time I said to somebody, I don't know, Ashan, you may have remembered this on in the True Pill community. A sister and I, this was when I first started on a conversation with King. She and I was having a back and forth. And she was so focused on maintaining the narrative of Black man being the bottom of the barrel that she could not see the wrong that Black women contribute, or the wrong that Black women do to their children. So I hit her with most abuse are at the hands of women. And she didn't know what to do with that, because her thing was like, oh, so are you saying that and I was like, a sexual abuse is this what you're saying? And I was like, okay, so you want to focus on sexual abuse because it fits your narrative, but it's not the only form of abuse. It's not. Sexual abuse is not the only form of abuse. A lot of people grew up with quote unquote parents who showed narcissistic traits, because I hate to be out here calling people narcissists, but people who just exhibited narcissistic traits, like parents who were manipulative, parents who gaslit us every chance they get, parents who were controlling because they were afraid of being alone. I mean, it's just so much. And I think it's a conversation that needs to be had, but it's very difficult to find people to talk about this topic because we see it as betrayal, and it's not. Let me tell y'all something. I love my mother to death. But I also know that my mom didn't get it right all the time. I'm a mother. My children love me to death. And I know I don't get it right all the time. So there has to be space for us to talk about what are some of the things our mothers did while raising us that still affect us to this day. There has to be a space to talk about it. And I swear I'm going to provide the space if I could find the people to have the honest conversation. You know what I mean? Yes, you said deification. Yes. Yes, the matriarch in the Black community is infallible. She cannot be touched. It doesn't matter. And even when you bring it up, people deflect by saying, well, what about these daddies? What about these absent daddies? And I'm like, but that's not what we're talking about right now. And I want the panel to be full of men and women, because men and women have gone through this. We have to talk about this. We talk about absent fathers all day long. We ride that. I mean, that train is tired of us riding it. We ride the hell out of that train. We talk about just all the woes and all the things that Black men could do better. But the minute you talk about these toxic mothers, you can hear a pin drop. It's a real thing, and I want to talk about it. I really want to talk about it. So I am going to seek out a panel and of people where we could just come and we can have this conversation. My thing is if you haven't dealt with it, it may not be the panel might not be a place for you to talk about it. But if you're like me and like some of us who have dealt with some things that our parents probably could have done different, but you've already dealt with that and it's no hard feelings, and so you could talk about it. If you're that person, like, let me know. Let's have it. Okay. Sean said, I literally had to prevent my nephew from being punished for criticizing his absentee mother. I've seen it over and over. When I used to work in foster care, that was one of the, I used to train. One of my roles was to train. And I had to have the conversation with with foster parents, like, because our first reaction when we hear a child say, "My mom ain't shit," it's almost like it's easier for us to digest "my dad ain't shit" than for us to digest "my mom ain't shit." And so we immediately jump to the rescue of the mama we don't even know, and we minimize and dismiss that child's experience with that parent. I've seen it over and over and over. We jump to the rescue of women like this, like this. But there are mothers who are extremely toxic, and then there are mothers who just didn't get it right because maybe they were young mothers, they were still learning. It doesn't change the fact that it has affected us. And this is the strong piece I'm talking about too. This still connects to our topic of constantly presenting to be strong. Okay? Constantly presenting to be strong. Oh no, Danique, when we talk about this, I had a conversation with a guy before, and he was like, they're gonna say that you're capping, whatever y'all call it. This conversation about mothers is a hard one to have, but I am game. I am not afraid of it, because I feel like the conversations that we are avoiding are the ones that's keeping us from actually healing. Right? Instead of jumping to defend, like Ashan just talked about your nephew, instead of jumping to defend the mama, allow the space for that child to get it out, because you might learn something that you didn't know before. But you see, we have reduced, just like how we've reduced men to provide us and protect us, we've actually reduced women to the bare minimum. If you do the bare minimum, if you feed them and you clothe them, then you a damn good mother. That's it. That's it. That's all that's required. That's all that required. But I think what adds to that is when fathers are absent, it's hard to critique a single mother that people look at and say, well, she's a single mom. It's not easy. And she's just doing her best, especially if we are single mothers ourselves. Right? It's very easy. We're very quick to jump to the defense of. And it's a hard topic because we're trying to be careful not to judge people's parenting. But it's a very important and significant topic to discuss, because there are people who are still dealing with the impact and the effects of that type of parenting, whatever it may be. There are parents who abandon their mothers, who were single mothers and abandoned their children, and their grandparents raised them. We don't talk about that. All we talk about is these missing fathers. You call a session to talk about missing fathers and absent fathers. Everybody's going to show up. Call a session to talk about toxic mothers. You might have one person as game. I don't like it. I don't like it, because we have a lot of people who have been gaslighted their entire life and abused verbally and called stupid and dumb and fast because they kissed a boy, right? And the school called, and now she's in heat, and they would call out their names, and they would call bitches and everything else. Okay? By mothers. And they're still dealing with that today. So maybe I'm going to see if I could put a panel together for next week. Ashan, be on the lookout. I'm calling all y'all men. We coming. We're going to talk about this because it needs to be spoken of. But anyway, I digressed a little bit. I'm passionate about that, y'all. Especially, I'm passionate about children in general. And I'm also passionate about adults who were once children and they just happened to survive childhood. I'm very passionate about that as well. But anyway, so that's all I have for you guys today. I'm glad that you guys joined me. I think I actually have a name for the show for Fridays. I'm going to be sharing that really soon if I don't change my mind by next week. But again, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. If you know people who will benefit from the channel, encourage them to come over and join us in these conversations. Sean, I'm going to do a better job at sharing the link early on so you guys can come up and have these conversations. Sean, be ready next week. I'm probably going to be calling on you. Knowledge and relationships. Like I'm going to be pulling on everybody to talk about the toxic mother situation and how we can do better with our own children, how we can avoid those things, how we can forgive. Some of us need to forgive our mothers, how we could forgive our mothers, and just what that toxicity look and felt like, growing up, and how it's still affecting us, and so yeah, look for that next week, you guys. Now I'm hyped about getting that panel together. But yes, thanks for joining me as usual. I'm going to continue to have these type of conversations about self-development, about healing, about subjects and things that affect our community, but we tend to be silent about. We're loud about a whole lot of other things. But I feel like the things that we're not talking about are really the things we need to talk about, because I think that's where the pain really is. And so I look forward to seeing you guys next week as usual. And until next time, I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me, and peace.